listening to the RockDown Podcast, the podcast that doesn't care how bands got their names. And now, direct from the RockDown Studios, here is your host, Mr. Cheese.
Hello and welcome to the show. I am your host, Mr. Cheese, and this week I am delighted to be joined by Jarvis Leatherby of Night Demon. Hello and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
So this is kind of a take two for us. We desperately tried 2 days ago to do this, but I just think everything was was against us. But you did mention that you were in Northern Ireland. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm in Derry. Been here since the pandemic. I'm from Southern California, but I still have my studio there, and I still have an apartment there. But yeah, I just found it very peaceful here, and I've adapted, and it's a great place to be between tours, and especially during the summer when we're doing a lot of festivals and stuff. You know, a lot of the Night Demon guys, I mean, I've seen them do things where they'll fly back to California from, mainland Europe and come back the following week for another festival.
Yeah.
So this is good for me, just a quick hop over,
Yeah. Cool. Very cool. As I kind of mentioned before we came on air, we sort of touch on music, but it's kind of, much more kind of out there questions wise. But for anybody who doesn't know about you and what you guys do you want to just kind of give us a brief history of the band?
Yeah, so we grouped in 2011 out of Ventura, California, so about an hour north of LA, just a small beach town. It's kind of known for it's got a big history of like hardcore skate punk from the 80s. That's kind of musically what put it on the map, not heavy metal. So we kind of grew up in the punk scene as metal kids. And we just had a real love for the new wave of British heavy metal. We were into bands like Maiden and Metallica, early on in our lives. That was kind of the mainstream access that we got. And through them, we started discovering a lot of these other bands. And so around 2011, we just had an idea that, hey, let's make an EP kind of, let's put a band together. Let's make an EP inspired by our love of the new wave of British heavy metal. We came up with the name Night Demon. We wrote 4 songs in 4 rehearsals, and the 5th rehearsal is the recording that you hear out there now. That's the first Night Demon. So, we really didn't think it was going to go anywhere. We were all playing in other bands at the time and touring, and we were just doing it for ourselves. A couple years went by, and we just had burned some CDs for some friends locally. And, again, like, we didn't have many metalhead friends. It was just the 3 of us. That's why it's a 3-piece band. And we, friends of ours that had heard it, to them, it was kind of a brand new style of stuff. And they were like, hey, you guys really need to do this band. We kept being told that. And so we ended up putting out a 7-inch. And basically, we recorded everything old school, and we made the artwork old school, and even the printing on the sleeve like a real offset print, and spilled put a couple coffee stains on them, and started just sending them around the world. And people got a hold of it in Europe and thought it was a band from 1981 that they had never heard. And so it kind of started from there. And in around 2013, we decided to start taking it seriously, and teamed up with bands like Diamond Head and Raven. And, when our heroes would come to town, the local promoters would throw us on those gigs in the LA area, and became friends with some of those guys and started getting asked to come to Europe. And around that time, we quit our jobs and lived in the van for about 4 years, and it's all been history since then.
Very cool. Very cool. I will come back to a couple of things you said there, but there was a question, and funny enough, I don't have it written down, but outside of this, I work in the music industry. I kind of do a lot of sync work and placements
Oh,
for,
great.
I always say it beats having a real job. So,
Yeah,
uh,
sure.
you
We're
know,
available for placements, by the way. So
okay,
we,
okay.
we,
Well,
we we own our own publishing, and we own all of the early masters. So, yep. This conversation is great.
okay. Well, then fire me an email afterwards, and we will definitely have a chat about that. So, yeah, the one of the questions I was going to kind of pose, or it's really kind of a conversation more. I kind of think there is a huge amount of luck involved in the music industry. And the reason I say that is I have this theory that if tomorrow, if I could miraculously run the 100 meters in, 9.1 seconds, I would be very rich and I'd be an overnight star. And there's lots of things, if you can become the best at, you can instantly become a name. But it seems to me that in music, you can be, arguably the greatest band in the world, and for some reason you just don't take off. And I just wondered what your thoughts are on that.
I agree and disagree with you at the same time. So it all depends what you define as luck. Um, the great John Wooden, the coach of UCLA basketball, the most winning coach in history, a great philosopher, said that luck is where preparation meets opportunity. So, with that said, you have to put yourself in the right place at the right time.
Yep.
You have to be able to network. You have to be able to extend yourself and have a conversation with somebody. Because you just don't know who anybody is. I mean, I'm still, we've experienced quite a bit of success for a band doing the style that we do in the era that we're doing it. But I mean, still, even this morning, I was out on a walk with some friends, and there was a kid in an Iron Maiden shirt that passed us, and I handed him a sticker and a business card. It's like
Yep.
you have to be able to do that. And we live in an age where we can finally, with the internet, scroll through Instagram or YouTube shorts or whatever and see the best bedroom guitar players you've ever seen in your life.
Yep.
That will probably be better than the greats, than Eddie Van Halen or whatever. But art is so subjective. There's something for everybody. Some of the stuff I really hate, people really love, and that's okay. And that's okay. But we've defeated the mainstream. The mainstream is dead now. So there's tons of subcultures all around the world that we will never hear about that are huge. And that's cool because everybody's able to find their audience now. So again, it all depends on how you define luck. But I really feel that luck is on the side of the entrepreneur and the go-getter and the person that's passionate enough to do whatever it takes to get out of their comfort zone and go do it. Fortune favors the brave, 100%.
Yeah, and I agree because again, I was, funny enough. This is something that actually that word luck, as you say, using it there. We're fortunate. My wife and I, we live in a kind of a nice house. I've got a nice kind of office away from the main house, and a man cave with like a pool table in it, and it's a very, very kind of comfortable kind of living that we have. But I'm the same as you because I actually hate saying the word. I will say to her sometimes, we really are lucky, aren't we? But
Yeah,
as you
you're
say, it's
fortunate,
kind of
but
like I've worked my ass off as well for a
yeah,
long
it
time.
didn't, it didn't happen by
So
accident. You know what I mean?
exactly.
And, within my career, I could trace back how everything happened. Every opportunity I could trace back to how it happened. And some of the things are just about, 90% of your success is just going to be having good relationships with people. People like to work with people they like,
Yeah.
and the 10% is having the goods to
Yeah.
deliver on the end, and that's where the preparation meets the opportunity. There's been plenty of times in my career where the opportunity's been there and I wasn't ready for it,
Yeah.
So, give yourself a little bit more credit on that. But, I also believe in manifesting the things that you believe in, whether that's a little bit of a crystal Twinkie theory. It is one that I do believe in. And just the other day, I was just making a list, writing it down and going, hey, what are the things that I want to focus on right now. And, we've just had some major placements in some big television shows and stuff. And I said, I want to focus more on sync licensing and meeting some of these music supervisors and stuff that I've talked to here and there. And then here you are hitting me up for a podcast, and you're telling me that you're doing this. And this is my seizing the opportunity of luck by actually asking you about it. Right.
Yeah.
So this is happening as we speak right now. And if you want to talk about luck, that's why I moved to Ireland. I have to be lucky. Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. So put luck on your side. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
If
definitely.
it is a force of nature, be of it.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. So let's hit a few of these really obtuse questions. So the first one, I kind of did a Google search and looked at some images of you. So I can't answer this question because I couldn't see. But do you have tattoos?
I'll cuff you.
Okay. And what was the first one you ever got, and what was the most recent one that you got?
The first one I ever got was a symbol, like a hardcore symbol. I was speaking earlier about where we come from. So Ventura or Oxnard area of Southern California, there was a movement that started in 1980 called Nardcore. It was Oxnard hardcore. And that's kind of a scene that we were a part of. And I just got a tattoo of the symbol. It's like an O and an X together. It kind of looks like an Argyle sock, almost like it's that design, But I got that when I was just under 16 years old. And this was 1996, I think. And I was in high school at the time. And it was a thing then where it was like tattoos were still a very rebellious thing. And I was
Yeah.
young, and people used to point at me. I've got a good periphery. I can always see that there's the guy with the tattoo. There's the
Yeah.
rocker with the tattoo,
Yeah.
And so once they started to become fashionable, and guys that I knew that weren't rebellious at all had full sleeves, I kind of stepped away from it. So the most recent tattoo I got, and I'm actually going to get a lot of these lasered off. I'm in the process of doing that. And I don't know if I'm going to start over. There's a couple pieces that I kind of want, but I don't know. You change through life, and I realized like, hey, I don't want to make any forever decisions. And I did when I was young, right? So the most recent one, okay. I went to visit Graceland. We toured with Anvil in 2017, and I went to the pilgrimage to see Elvis's home. And I got a tattoo on my wrist, the TCB symbol, the Elvis's symbol, taking care of business, the
Yep.
TCB with the lightning bolt. And I thought, like, that's the kind of person that I want to be. I want to be the guy who takes care of business. So every time I look down at my hands when I'm doing something, it's a reminder to handle my business.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that because on the tattoo side, I mean, I still very much kind of look the part with regards to the long hair and all the other stuff. But it's funny you say, because I never had tattoos,
Right.
and kind of now they've become such acceptable things that I'm kind of like, well, if I want to be a rebel now, I'm actually just not going to have tattoos because the assumption.
How much less work is that, huh?
Exactly.
How about being yourself? Like, what a
Exactly.
concept. Nobody in my band has tattoos, so there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Very cool. So again, totally different question. Do you have any superstitions?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm a seeker. I'm always on the spiritual hunt. And I have a lot of superstitions, not your typical don't walk under a ladder, don't cross a black cat. I walk under a lot of ladders, and I see a lot of black cats. I do not put my shoes on the table.
Okay.
Never put a pair of shoes on a table or a raised surface of any sort. I don't know where I got that from, but I don't do that. When I walk on a walkway and they're squared off, I always count my steps, and I don't walk on the cracks if I can avoid it. If I do walk on the cracks, I walk on every single one of them. So that's my pace. What else? If I ever get the hiccups, I turn 3 things over really fast. So if something's sitting on the ground or it's on a table, and it always cures them, it takes them away right away. And I
Wow.
don't know if that's something that it takes your brain off of what's going on involuntarily, but it's a quick motion and it's a quick thinking thing that I do right away. So if I get one hiccup, I just, whether they're coasters on a table, I just turn them over, turn three things over, a magazine, something, you know? Um, what else can I think of here? I used to have, it's not really a superstition, but I used to have a weird physical thing where I would have to have evenness all over my body. So if I tap my foot twice on the right, I'd have to do it on the left. I'm glad that that's gone because that's kind of more of an OCD thing. Um, my I had a photography teacher. I actually never finished school. I dropped out of high school to tour in bands, but I did end up getting like a certificate later on, and did go to like a community college just to learn some specific skills. And I took a photography class, and my photography teacher, a very old guy, he noticed, he's like, you know, I don't know if you've ever been to therapy or studied any Freudian stuff, but you really have this kind of square view of everything. This, like, all of your photography is very, it's very even and it's very symmetrical. And it's kind of weird. I do see the world in that way. If I walk by, I I have like a million framed pictures in my office, and I can't. I have to constantly straighten them out. You know, they can't be crooked. So, again, we're getting into the OCD territory, but it's not debilitating OCD. So, you know, but under superstitions, the ones that I mentioned are the ones that I could
Well,
think of right now.
well, actually, though, the OCD is an interesting thing because I kind of have this theory. Obviously, you see a lot more people kind of being diagnosed with autism and various things nowadays. But I have this very simple idea, to be honest, that absolutely everybody in the entire world is on an autism scale. I just think it's a relative thing as to how you are, because what you said about everything being squared, funnily enough, we just kind of remodeled the office, and we did it all ourselves because
Right.
we like doing that stuff, and B, it just saves the money. I'm tight. I hate getting anybody to do something that I can do myself, you know. But when I go to kind of put stuff up, I'm everything has to be kind of like parallel. Anything on my desk has to be in little piles and stuff like that. So,
Yeah,
but
I feel you.
you know, so my theory is, I just think everybody is OCD. I just do think that some people are 10 out of 10, some people are 1 out of 10, and everyone else is kind of somewhere in the middle. So I do really think it's something that everybody has.
That makes total sense, especially with the you know, with the way our attention spans are these days. You know, I think a lot of that is not necessarily hereditary, but it could be programmed in a way with just the way we live our daily lives. So, you know, or organizing digital files or whatever, you know. So I completely get that.
Yeah, and let's face it. And again, sorry, this is kind of slightly off topic, but it relates to what you just said there. I'm not. I'm certainly not giving parenting advice to anybody, but you absolutely know this next generation is going to be a very different generation, because every single kid you see from about the age 3 upwards have either got a phone or a tablet in their hand.
Oh, it's crazy, man. I mean, I see it everywhere, you know. But it's the modern babysitter, right? And
Absolutely.
I'm fortunate enough to have lived, you know, half of my life through the analog age, and I really appreciate a lot of that. And you know, as much as I love digital convenience, I still try and have a pretty good balance in my life of doing the things that you know digital technology will never replicate, you know. And I think it's tougher to do when you've never had it, and so I wouldn't expect anybody to try and live that life if they are not compelled to, because you know it's kind of like saying, you know, AI is going to replace humans in the workforce, and it's like, well, yeah, but you know, technology throughout our lives, like, I'm glad that technology 100 years ago replaced a lot of jobs that are now unnecessary. As a species, we're able to survive, and I'm excited about what AI is going to bring, to be honest, as far as health and things like this. I hope I live long enough incorporate some of that stuff into my life,
Yeah, well, again, I agree completely because when I finish this interview today, one of the small jobs I've got to do because there's this storm coming, I'm going to
Yeah,
grab
I'm bracing for it. Trust me.
yes, yeah. So I've kind of got a small hand cart out there, which I've got to fill up with some wood and some coal, take it down to the back of the house, so it's there. So we've got a couple of days of coal. Now, at the end of the day, right, I've got a small hand cart that's got 4 wheels on it.
Yeah,
Well, when the wheel was invented, what am
wheel
I
and
supposed to do?
fire.
Go, yeah. At the end of the day, I'm not going to turn around and say, "Hey, look, I'm sorry, I'm not embracing the whole wheel thing because it's going to replace so many jobs." Do you know what I mean? It is what
Yeah,
it is. It helps me massively. AI, well, ironically, the reason that we are having this conversation, and you didn't know this, because we just obviously restarted the podcast after a while away. I kind of thought to myself, want to get a kind of few episodes, under my belt, kind of thing, and I actually went on to a chat bot and stuck in best unsigned bands currently making noise, and you were one of the first band names that came up, which
wow, that's weird because we've been signed to a major label for 10 years. But hey, I'll take it.
I
I like
know.
we're a DIY band at heart, so
Exactly, and I saw that,
that's a
and
compliment. It's a compliment.
well, that's what I thought, and I thought, it's the kind of proof that AI definitely still needs work. But on the flip side, as a kind of an emerging band, it was a very, very nice way for me to go on, and
Yeah.
I immediately went on, took a listen to you, and obviously, the style of music you do, it's what I grew up with, so I was like, and I only have people on here that I actually enjoy the music of. I'm never going to have anyone on that I don't.
Yeah.
So but yeah, AI it is coming. It's just not going to make any difference what anybody says. It's going to come. So
But it's gonna. Look, it's better to look at the positive things about it, And if it is the downfall of the world, then it is. So what?
yeah,
Let's be done with it. You know what
it-
I mean? Let's just be done with it. Let's be done with what we have because it's coming, and it's gonna be an experience. People need to live. We have so many modern comforts. Nobody ever feels alive anymore. You know what I mean? So, give me something. And by the way, it should be called human intelligence. There's nothing it's all it's doing is taking what we've been giving it
yep.
and re and organizing it for us. You know what I mean? It's not create it does not have a mind of its own. It just does
No.
not.
No, I agree, and I mean, let's face it, it doesn't understand. And one of again, for me personally, I kind of do. There's a kind of a side art project that I've been working on just for a few months, and it involves kind of AI artwork. And one of the things that is intriguing is you can ask it to create something for you, and it's fascinating to how inaccurate in a very good way that it is, but also if you ask it to involve text, it does not understand text.
It
So
doesn't.
as you say, you're not talking about something that understands what you're putting in there. It's just scraping all of the information that humans have put up there, and kind of like it almost should be called best guessed intelligent. You know what I mean? Because it is
Right.
really kind of like, yeah, well, works for me.
And you know what? I already feel like with the music that we play and the kind of medium that we really move our music through, I already feel like a freaking antique salesman. All I do is travel the world and say, "Look at this shiny vinyl." You put a needle on it, and the tune comes out, and
Yeah,
and so I'm fine with it. And you know what? The more underground the thing that we do does, I mean, the more impressive it is. I mean, humans are gonna need human contact, and if you listen to a Night Demon album and you hear a couple mistakes or there's no fluctuation. I mean, we don't play to a click track even or anything, and it's alive, it's breathing,
yeah.
and so I that's how I choose to live my life. And there are a lot of people out there that really appreciate it. And the more perfect things get, more and more people are going to gravitate towards that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, I had a question here, and it relates to something you'd already mentioned. You mentioned photographs. What was the last photo that you took?
On my phone, just
Either on your phone, or you mentioned that you got a lot of framed
yeah,
prints. I don't know if they're.
I don't do photography anymore, like pro photography. So let me see. I have my phone here. The last photo that I actually took A lot of these are screenshots. Oh, okay. I took a photo of my 1978 Les Paul custom natural finish guitar that
Very nice.
I was showing to a friend. My partner, um, she was taking care of her uncle for near a decade. He was suffering from Alzheimer's, and she said, "Hey, and yeah, he was on the spectrum, and he, speaking of that, and he loved guitar, but he never played in his whole entire life. And, he lived up to his late 70s, and he but I apparently he to my knowledge, he collected guitars, and
Oh,
she's like
wow.
kind of showing me his guitars and that she inherited. And she's like, I don't know if you're interested in any of these, and he had some cool stuff. And then she pulls out this one case from under the bed, and I was like, that's a Les Paul case. I know that. And I opened it up, and it's like the holy grail of Les Pauls. I mean, if you're into metal, I mean, like the
Yep.
1978 custom, I mean, that's like Randy Rhoads right there.
Yep.
And just imagine opening a guitar that's near 50 years old that has never been played and is all
Wow.
original. And it was a gift. And I've done a lot of writing on that guitar. That guitar speaks to me. It's the most comfortable guitar I've ever played, and it's an incredible thing. And I think it's got a spirit in it that I'm fortunately able to tap into.
Very cool. Yeah, that's very cool indeed. Yeah, it's instruments are one of those things that, yeah, and again, I suppose for people who've never played guitar or anything like that, I think at the end of the day, it's hard to understand that something has to. I mean, you can be given the most expensive guitar in the world, and if it just doesn't feel right, it just doesn't feel right. There's something that you almost can't explain, that when you just put the right guitar in your hand, it just works, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And like, some of this stuff, it's like between a $500 guitar and a $5,000 guitar, is the $5,000 guitar $4,500 better? Most likely
Yeah,
not. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
exactly,
So
exactly.
so it doesn't matter exactly what you have. It matters what you do with the tool. It's just like
Yeah,
money. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like you don't. I find that films that have $150 million budget are so less creative than the $1.5 million budget. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. If you have the money, you just use it.
Absolutely. No, that's very true. That's very true.
But
Um, so again, complete change here. Outside of music, what do you know enough about that you could probably give an impromptu talk on?
probably business. Um, that would probably be number one. And the second might be basketball.
Basketball, okay. And who are you a fan of?
LA Lakers.
LA Lakers.
But yeah, I follow it less and less these days. But the history of the game, I've got a pretty good knowledge of.
Yeah. Again, I grew up in that era, that watching the Lakers versus the Celtics, watching
Yeah,
kind of
Showtime, the Showtime
yeah.
era.
It
Yep.
was amazing, amazing.
That 1980s saved the league, man. If every year of the 1980s, every single year, either the Lakers or the Celtics or both were in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, yeah, that was an amazing, because to me, I think I'm pretty, again, it's because funny enough, it's a sport I will kind of I dip in and out of if I kind of like sort of see that it's on. It's like, oh, I'll kind of jump into a game and watch it, but I'm pretty certain I can remember back in the day. So it would have been literally in the times, it would have been Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on one side and Larry Bird on the other, and
Absolutely.
it was just like, wow, that was, I don't know, that was kind of, to me, that was, and again, not saying that everything is that case, but that to me was kind of, in a way, the sport at its absolute finest era.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it set everything up for what was to come later. It made the Michael Jordans of the world possible.
Yeah,
It 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 was an era that turned the sport into entertainment, and that's where people really caught on.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So again, another kind of touches on. I know we're talking about a lot of the way that you kind of market your music, etc. But digitally speaking, what was the last song that you downloaded?
Oh, I actually there's a band out of St. Louis, Missouri called Transylvania. We have a podcast. Oh shit! I just got an emergency alert. I guess the storm's coming, huh?
Oh yes, yeah, it
Issued by
is.
UK governments. Red warning. Wind has been. Okay. All right. Well, it's not going to stop me from going outside. So, okay, strong winds. Okay. All right. So, anyway, um, this band Transylvania. So, Night Demon has a podcast, and it runs every Friday consecutively. We are up to 235 episodes. That's 235
Nice.
weeks in a row without a break. And it's amazing. We have a podcast producer and host that curates all of these episodes. There's like a narrative arc in each of them. Each of the band members and the crew, record company, agents, fans, everybody's interviewed separately about a certain topic each week. And it's all kind of cut and paste together to tell the story of the band. We multi-track audio and film every show. So we go through touring and everything that happens through that, song breakdowns, track by track, all that kind of stuff. But we also have a subscriber platform for that where people get every week added bonuses where it's full shows, video, audio, behind the
Nice.
scenes photos, all this. Anyway, one of our subscribers, his name is Trent Wilson. He sent me his band Transylvania, and it's pretty good stuff, man. It's cool. It's like Maiden meets like Uriah Heep. You know, there's some cool stuff. So that
Okay.
was the last thing that I've actually listened to.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I will definitely check them out, and I will kind of link everything that you've mentioned there as well in the show
Yeah.
notes for here. So that's cool. That's very cool. Um, this kind of circles back to some of the things we've already talked about. Do you believe in reincarnation?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought you did.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't believe in it necessarily in the traditional sense, because if all in the world was correct was right, then I would come back as the seat on a girl's bicycle. But, but that's probably not going to happen. So, sorry, I just had to lighten the mood there.
No, that's okay. No, I mean, and of course, if it turns out you're going to get punished for that comment, you're simply going to come back as the seat on Lance Armstrong's bicycle. So,
Well, at least I only have to deal with one ball.
that's true. That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
The reason I actually it's funny you say that because I'm one of these kind of horribly stuck. I want to believe something, and I should say that the reason I kind of I mention it is I've been with my wife for nearly 30 years now, and she is like, for me, most amazing woman I've ever met. She's the kindest person. She's taught me so much, just about being kind of a better person. But at the end of the day, she 100% says, "Don't worry, we're going to be together long after this route." She says we've been together before, but for me, it's that fear of, if you're wrong, I can't do a day without her. I definitely don't want to do an eternity without her. So, what kind of, in your mind, what gives you kind of the real kind of what's I suppose what's the belief based on from your point of view? How can you be so sure?
Well, first of all, I'll say the same about my partner. She's the kindest person that I've ever met. And it's funny because I think about this, it's kind of dark, but that I think about, like, a lot of times we'll talk and I'll always say, like, kind of this thing that I like kind of know I'm going to go first, and just like, hey,
Yeah.
when I die, do this. When I die, do this. When I die, do this. But then I get the dark thought, like, what if it's not me? Like, how would I cope with that, you know? And the funny thing is that what she does as a profession is well, first of all, she's our lighting designer. So she tours with the bands and does the lights, and she's incredible at it. But her real passion is she is a paranormal investigator and
Oh, wow.
and works in dark tourism in a way, you know. And so, you know, these topics are they're constantly with us, and we travel the world and go, besides touring in the band, we visit a lot of paranormal conventions all around the world, some of the biggest ones. And you know, I don't know, I read and listen to metaphysical teachings daily, and I have for about 13, 14 years now. um I'm a total seeker in that, and my personal spiritual hunt. So I'm not confirmed about the reincarnation thing, but what I do know is that time is not linear. We're living in some sort of a matrix or some sort of lived experience. And just look at nature, just look at it and experience it and feel it. And just, you got to know that there's something more. Nature itself is just so regenerative. You know what I mean? Like, and we are a part of that. We're the dominant species of it. You know, and I mean, well, we've managed to at least subdue it for now. Obviously, we just got a warning that nature is coming back with the fury right
Yeah.
now. And you know what I mean? But um, I feel like the spirit and the soul lives on. We haven't been able to define consciousness. I love science, but I also love the challenge that we give to science. And that's why the whole COVID thing fucked me up, because I was like, these fucking people are just so stupid, you know? And like, everybody wants to trust and believe the authority on stuff. But the thing is, science is getting so good that we've been able to prove with science, the ESP thesis, and like so many extra sensory perceptions that human beings can carry. You know, the study of brain waves with meditation and stuff like this is just incredible, and the scientific community just wants to um, dismay all of this stuff without even looking at the clinical research. And again, like with the advancement of technology and AI, I feel like the spiritual is going to meet this science. We're going to meet at a crossroads, and something magical is going to be discovered. And the more people that get on board with that, the better that everybody's going to be. So reincarnation is just one factor. I'm trying not to go off on a tangent here, but I think we are transferred to something else. I don't know if we come back onto Earth. I don't know, and I don't have to know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. We're always, you know, one of my gurus, Mitch Horowitz, he's always saying that people are always looking for like the magic bullet. You know,
Yeah.
if I can prove that UFOs exist, like, it has to be this, and it's this. If Bigfoot exists, it's a big hairy ape, and he lives in the woods here. Why? Why can't it be a number of things? We are so complicated. Look even to your relationships. There's a factor of things, how you feel about somebody else. You can love them and hate them at the same time. There is no one theory to rule them all. You know, I mean, it's just that
Yeah.
life is not that simplified. So don't try and simplify a concept that we can't prove. We don't need to prove it, but the possibility of it to is so strong. Just because you can't see it does not mean it doesn't exist. It actually means the opposite.
Well, I mean, the classic example of that is love, isn't it? I mean, I am insanely in love, but there's nothing. All right, you know, you can measure the endorphins, and you can do some sort of show some stuff which isn't actually the love itself. That's the result of the love. But you can't show love. You can't bottle love. You know, I mean, it's not something that is physical. It's just something that is there. I know I have it, but like I said, you can measure what comes of it, but you can't measure. Science can't give me a test and say you're loving somebody right now. It just, and in fact, I actually heard someone the other day. I don't know who it was, but he was talking about the fact that he was saying the Loch Ness monster, Bigfoot, all of these things. He simply said, and I think it was a kind of a well-known scientist. He was saying that none of those things exist because they've never found the skeletons of them. And I kind of thought, well, the couple of issues I have with that, first off is when they kind of go deep into the Amazon jungles and places where they've not been before, they are still finding new species. Well, that species exists. Just because you didn't find it until 2 days ago doesn't mean it only suddenly, it's not the whole, if a tree falls in the woods, do you hear it kind of stuff. At the end of the day, that there is literally millions of things that we can't explain. Just because we can't explain doesn't mean they're not real.
Right. And you cannot just deny personal accounts of this stuff. That's the thing. Everybody's crazy, right? I don't think so. And, actually, science has recently shown that there, in the prehistoric age, there was something that existed that was like Nessie, that was like a Loch Ness kind of thing that lived in the water. And they have discovered that it's very possible that in a freshwater environment that could have lived longer after the extinction of the animals on Earth. So yeah, we're constantly digging stuff up. We're constantly finding stuff. There's still these modern wonders of the world that happened before. You want to hear my theory really quick? I'll just give it to you quick.
Absolutely, of course. Yep.
I feel like this has already happened. So not in a deja vu way, not exactly, you know what I mean? But like there was an Elvis Presley millions of years ago, but his name was like Johnny Parsley or something. Like I feel like Earth is just regenerative. Like it's been around for so long, and it will be, that things become extinct into dust, and then nature happens again. And there's a natural order to the way life progresses. And we're fortunate enough to live in this totally advanced age. I mean, things are moving faster than ever now. Like, thank God. If you lived 300 years ago, you didn't really see much evolution in your life.
No, exactly. The two things that kind of brings up for me is, first off, we were talking about this earlier. At the end of the day, people always use that phrase, and we were talking about AI, and people will say, it could be the end of us, or whatever, etc. But people always say it'll destroy the world. And it's kind of one of those things of I always say, what you have to remember, anything that happens here, right, what it's going to destroy, and if anything is going to destroy, it's going to destroy mankind. It's not going to destroy the planet. The planet is going to be absolutely fine. The planet is going to tick along very nicely long after we're gone.
Right. No, I completely agree. I mean, even if the sun swallowed up the earth, I do feel like the earth would appear again at some point in time, even though I did say time is not linear. It's not a linear concept. It's a construct here on earth that we have to use in order to, so I could be here at 5 p.m. like you asked me to, so we can speak,
Exactly.
It's a human construct,
It
so
is.
It's fascinating.
It absolutely is. And unfortunately, the construct that is that time is actually going to bring us to our final question, because I have the feeling we could just do this for hours. I think we may have to do a part two in the future. So this is the only question that we ask everybody. When you have kind of chugged out your final note and you are no longer here, how would you like to be remembered?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to be remembered for my art, to people that have never met me, right? So there's a two-part answer, because there's a way you're remembered by people that knew you, and there's a way that you're remembered or discovered by people who never knew you personally, right? I think a lot of having the podcast is great for us because people really get to know us as people and the sacrifices we make for what we do. That's great to have, but that can also disappear, right? But I'd like to be known for the music that I created and the art that I created on other mediums as well. But to the people that knew me, I would like to be remembered for somebody who had integrity, somebody who always did what he said he was going to do when he said he was going to do it, and for somebody that was dependable and had accountability, somebody that people could depend on, and somebody that people saw as a leader, not in a way that was above anybody else, but in somebody that took responsibility for things and that they knew would confidently lead them into battle.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, we've talked obviously sort of briefly the other day, and now had this chat today. The integrity and everything really, really shines through talking to you. You've been an absolute joy to talk to. I've genuinely enjoyed every second of this. So, thank you, obviously, for the way you are, your attitude, and obviously the joy you bring to so many people with your music. And speaking of which, where can people find you as a last before we go? Where can people find you online, etc.?
They can find me on the astral plane. All they have to do is close their eyes. No, I was kidding.
Is there a paywall?
Just Google Night Demon. Nightdemon.net is the hub, right? And so we actually do have a website. A lot of bands don't have websites anymore. I think it's silly. We have our own subscriber platform and our own back end site. We don't use Patreon either. I mean, you see what's happening with TikTok now, and it's like all these people think that they rely on these platforms, and then the platform just changes their rules or just becomes extinct and they lose everything that they've built. So we have a website, nightdemon.net. If you like using those platforms, we're on all of them, and you can direct yourself there to however you want to do it. We sell t-shirts, we sell vinyl, we sell cassette tapes, we sell CDs. We're streaming any medium that anybody wants to listen to the band. It does exist. And yeah, I appreciate too. This is a great conversation. I'll be honest with you. I've done probably over 400 podcast style interviews. And, this has been definitely one of the most enjoyable. So I appreciate the questions and just the talk about things.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean, the aim is ultimately it's just more of a chat. That's really what we kind of, I mean, we can close out. I can ask you how the band got their name, and
yeah.
I think you've done that.
I mean, but the information's out there,
Exactly. Well, thank you again, Jarvis. You've been a pleasure, and best of luck with absolutely everything moving forward. And we'll have a chat offline, and email me. And if we've got anything coming up that I can point in your direction, I'll be more than happy to do so.
Yeah, that's great. And look, we're going to be touring UK next month with Queensryche. I don't know how close we're coming to you, but if there's a show that you want to come to, I'd be more than happy to sort some tickets for you. So
I appreciate that. Queensryche genuinely are probably, back in the day in particular, were probably one of my one hand I would put that they were on top 5 bands. Absolutely love them.
They're playing the whole EP and the Warning in its entirety. So
right,
I'll send you the dates.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, again, I appreciate your time massively, and I hope everything just goes amazingly. And I hope you get everything that you want and everything that you deserve.
Likewise, my friend. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Cheers.
All right.
So, I hope you enjoyed the show. If you have, please do consider subscribing and also leaving us a review, as it does help greatly with the rankings. Also, if you have suggestions for future guests, please reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram, X, etc. We would love to hear your ideas, and we would love to hear from you. Thanks very much.